Hello and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities. I'm your host, Neima, and tonight is Ladies' Night featuring psychic channeler and paranormal investigator Bonnie Woodruff and cosplay gamer enthusiast Cami Lee Ann. So, everyone, I think tonight I kind of want to just start off by going around and saying everyone's individual path and what kind of led us up to our path in a cult. So, Bonnie, would you like to start?
Yeah, I guess primarily I started, developing my gifts from when I was a child. Once
You're kind of low. I don't know why.
that is, let me see.
Okay,
I can
yeah,
turn it up.
that's a little bit better.
Okay, hang on. Oh, that probably was it because my mic was back behind me. Is that better?
Yes, 10 times better.
Okay. It's my natural chaos. Okay. So no, as a kid, just my gifts in general, I did try to ignore them for the longest time. And as an adult, I started basically trying to understand them and learn from them. That kind of threw me into, I guess you would say, witchcraft or whatnot. But as far as my path, I mean, I guess you would consider it left-hand path, but I feel like everything's been so weird shifted lately that it's almost like good has almost turned to what once was looked at as evil. Like it's just things. I feel like I've just stepped in, or like I looked the other day and asked somebody. I said, "Did we like accidentally step into a whole different, dimension lately, and just not realizing it?" I mean, because a week ago I would have said left-hand path, no question. Now it's like these people that are calling it this or that. A lot of people have forgotten the true meaning behind what we do, and it's you can't point fingers at other people in the left-hand path. So sorry, I got on a tangent. Just having to say, so yeah, like it's like that gave me kind of some feels there because it's like it's hitting some some notes on me in me. It's like, well, maybe it's just we are who we are and no direct path, or maybe it's not supposed to be labeled anything. An attitude, a lifestyle instead.
Huh. Okay.
I agree with that fully. Yeah, that's how I view it as well.
Mm-hmm. It just feels better.
Yeah.
Cami,
sorry, we gotta
do what you do.
Aw, puppy. I actually have a very similar scenario to Bonnie. I grew up with various different gifts in a a cult based family. Like my parents were always very influential. They understood a little about a lot, and but never really pushed me too far into it because they kind of like feared it a little bit, I think. So I spent most of my childhood very tormented, and victim to things that I didn't quite understand. And then eventually I just, turned a turning point. I came from a long line of Wiccan ancestry, and I just decided, hey, I'm gonna delve into this. Like I obviously have power. I need to figure out how I can control it and move forward into whatever that path is that how it takes me. So I do agree with Bonnie. I don't think there is a label or anything like that. It's you have the tools that you've been given, and it's your choice whether you're going to use them for the benefit of others and yourself or not. So
right.
Yeah. I guess I would kind of agree with that because I feel like currently I'm not using my gifts. I'm just in a state of like not doing anything. But
my girlfriend does that too. She's like, la 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 la, I can't see you. I'm like, okay.
yeah, because like I was telling you before, Cami, I kind of got interested into the cult from doing sleep hypnosis, and I think that kind of opened me up to astral projection and got me so curious about past life regression and those things. And then I studied for a long time, and then as of a few years, I'm kind of just like, I don't, la la la, can't hear anything. I really don't see anything anymore. So, I mean, maybe one day it'll click back on, but for now I'm just chilling. But I did hear you mention just now how you said that your kind of family kind of influenced you, but they were like kind of fearful. Um, Getting on the next topic, how does your family handle your walk, like you being into this kind of stuff?
I think
Bonnie's like,
initially I think initially my parents were it was weird because considering how open they are to the entire realm and its possibilities, they always kind of were outfielders, right? They knew about it but always like encouraged you not to mess with anything. So I remember when I admitted to my mother that I was doing tarot and all the things that I was doing, her instant reaction was, are you safe? Like, you're not like inviting entities in, or like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, like I'm actually, you know, safe. But they were very critiquing of it for the first little bit. Like, they've had some family members that have latched onto power, thinking it was theirs, and it caused them to be quite sick and things like that, right? Like, there's people that want to walk in the path that don't actually have the ability, and they can get quite hurt. So I think my parents were just fearful of that. And but eventually they came around, and I knew they did when my mom, she actually micro knitted me this little sleeve for my tarot deck, and that was kind of
oh,
like her way of being like, okay, you're freaking me out, but I accept what you're doing. And so now she actually comes to me for readings and things like that. And but it's been a progression. It was like I really had to just, here's the information, and back away and let them come back to me. So
that's good. That's
yeah.
good. That's very sweet. Bonnie, you?
Ooh, for me, well, okay, so I was raised Methodist, which, if anybody understands, it's just kind of one little branch off the tree of Catholicism. So a lot of um, the Apostles' Creed, there's a lot of similarities and things we do that they had changed the name of, like the Methodists do catechism. It's just called confirmation. It's things like that. The main difference is that my dog's chasing his tail. Sorry. And anyway, like the one main thing is the difference is like that Catholics go through Virgin Mary to pray to Jesus, and Methodists don't think that's not it's just an unnecessary step. And so that's the main difference. So you've got a very, very structured religion that it's still very structured, even though it's broken off from some of its root, still has that same structure. So everything that I do is, again, not of the Lord or this or that. And I'm going, you preach, you say these. I say, I know the Bible enough to know too that you're calling yourself a Christian, yet being Christian is to be Christ-like. Yet you're judging me. Jesus would never have judged me. He would have loved me for who I am. And I said, do you understand the own people that you praise and that you worship? Because I would be like, if you were the person standing up for what I believed in, I'd be very disappointed. It's like, well, I got the message out wrong, evidently. You know what I mean? I'd be upset because that was not what I was trying to say, y'all. So, I mean, I guess that's how it's very critical. I know that my family loves me, so I'm not saying that they don't. It's just in a very judgmental, or at times it kind of feels like a conditional sort of way, tags and stripes. But I realize that it is just when people talk about breaking away from generational curses, it's not just biblical. It's like it's a thing. It is ancestral. It's not just biblical. So I realize that it's just what they use because they think it's what's quote unquote safe and right, and they use it to control. And all I got to do is not use manipulation or guilt and things like that. And it's hard because, I understand what it is to be a parent and then worrying, but I also realize what that kind of mental manipulation can do, cause all kinds of PTSD and stuff. So I try not to do it, my best.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. My parents, for the most part, are Christian. And so I kind of always kind of meet that kind of hesitation, and they have that fear-based mindset. And that's really what it is that they're operating out of a fear-based mindset, and they're operating from that Christian perspective. So that's what I ran into. I ran into that last time I was visiting my mom, and it was pretty interesting. Like, they don't want to read any book that's not the Bible. And it's like, do you know that Bible has been changed a million times?
Well, and it's it's like when you realize that religion is trying to keep you from looking at other books, there's a reason also too as to why. Maybe because you find out or think for yourself. And that's the thing. And I mean, I remember asking my mom, kind of confronting her about it. And I said, why? I said, I know you know. She said, because I don't want to know the truth. And that got me.
Wow.
So she admitted she was afraid. She admitted she was afraid in her own way. And so it kind of just proved to me. And I realized, okay, some people just can't. They were raised to where it's too much. They were told it was too much, so they just don't want to touch it.
Yeah. I've been confronted by that too, not so much in my parents, but in other family members. They acknowledge its existence, but at the same point, they're just like, I can't. Like, I respect you and your path and whatever. I'll never see eye to eye on you on it, but it's mostly because I can't. It scares me, and I don't know much about it, and I don't want to know much about it, right? So I feel like that's a very common reaction. I also find, I think, geography-wise, I'm not... Neima, where did you say you were from?
Originally from Arizona, but I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, yeah. So where I live, which is Western Canada, I don't know if it's just like where most of us have flocked to, but you are more likely to find someone who's on the path or accepting of the path than you are to find someone who's hardcore base structured religion. Like, they're the ones that are few and far between where I live, which is like very interesting. And it's always when I talk to people from different parts of the world, I realize how lucky I really do have it, because I don't have a lot of people pushing down those other beliefs and naysaying what it is that I do. And I think that's just, like I said when I was talking earlier, Neima, about just how uncultured and everything Western Canada is. Like, it's untouched by industry. You still have like fairy forests and all sorts of things happening over here. It's just, there's a lot more acceptance, I think, for in general.
So lucky. That's awesome. I've always wanted to move to Vancouver, Canada. It's beautiful. But I'll definitely move now that there's more people there.
Yeah. Start the pilgrimage. Yeah, that's the
Yeah, so, it does seem like there's different places in the U.S. I do know that, I think, from what my understanding, there's a good little spot in, Oregon. Goodness. What is it in Oregon?
Portland?
One of the main cities. Portland. It's very witchy. There are different places. Asheville, North Carolina has its kind of little group. There are places over, like, in different parts. Of course, New Orleans is always going to be deep rooted in magic.
Yeah.
But it's like, but unless you live in those areas, you're just kind of going to be looked at. I mean, the way I look at it, it's like, okay, so I have so many tattoos. I already have little old ladies grabbing their purse a little bit tighter.
Right.
So if I dare wear a shirt with a pentagram, or, especially inverted, people just, I'm like, yes, the power of the force is with me. It was like, I don't want them in front of me anyway. Like,
you're like, get out of here with your negative energy anyway.
It's like, okay, well, the trash does take itself out sometimes. But it is funny though, because you will just, it could be, honestly, you could probably get a Christian to wear that and do the same test with it, a very devout Christian, have them wear the shirt, let them walk through and watch how people react, and tell them that it's not them making judgment. But whatever.
I've actually seen someone do that before.
Oh, wow.
It was Black Friday, I think is what her name is. I follow her on, and she's in New Zealand somewhere, and she's someone who dresses very like pale goth and has, crazy black hair, and she just dresses very eccentric. And everywhere she goes, like, people are like grabbing their kids and hauling them off to the side, like afraid she's gonna like enact witchcraft on them or something like that. Right. And so the one day she just went in and bought the most mundane clothes she could find, and did like blah makeup and walked through a sea of people and nobody noticed that she existed. And she's like, I feel so naked. No one's running in fear or moving away from
The
me.
power's
Or, like,
That
gone.
is
like,
so
my
weird, though.
power's
It's so
gone. Yeah.
judgmental. Yeah, it's a thing. It's and people, I don't think they even realize that they do it, honestly, because I'm like, I look at my mom and I'm like, oh yes, this is very judgmental. You're thinking a person's a certain way, because like there's several of the YouTubers out there, will not name any names, but that will sit there and label a person a demon, a demon quote unquote worshiper, just because of their belief system. And it's like, wait, just because some people choose to work with demons instead of angels does not make them a negative person. I mean, I always teach, who would teach you better about the quote unquote negative side of life or dark? You're not going to, I mean, it's like you want to go to a brain surgeon for brain surgery. You're not going to go to a heart surgeon for brain surgery. So why go to a freaking angel that doesn't teach you hate? I mean, if that's the way you want to look at it. I mean, you could just break it down easy, but it just seems time it goes over people's heads. I mean, we see the darker aspects of ourselves when working with these entities and stuff, and it helps us to gain balance and understanding into it. And in a way, like they say, hug your own and accept your own demons as part of you, because that's what makes us all wonderful in our own ways, different.
Me and Cami were just talking about that, kind of accepting your own demons and if they exist.
Yeah.
On that,
Exactly.
yeah. Do you,
yeah.
Cami, do you work with any entities?
Besides my own, like spirit guides and things, I don't really work with too many outside influential forces. I do have, like I said, my parents' property is backed by like 680 acres of what is like Fey forest, and I do spend a lot of time out there working with them, which is super exciting. But they're, like I said, they're very juvenile and mischievous entities. So when you are working with them, you have to kind of check your pockets when you leave, kind of deal. Like they're very they're very mischievous characters. But as long as you respect their boundaries, they respect yours. So what I have is I actually have a fractured crystal that I've put out in their zone that I use as a tether, and I have the mirror image crystal in my possession, and so I use that to channel their energy a little bit. And but other than that, that's probably the only entity that I actually work closely with is the Fae. So
Wow. I mean, with working with them, what kind of benefits do you get from that? I guess, is that okay?
benefits, I guess, like wisdom, I suppose.
Yeah, like what does it tell you?
Yeah, you don't look youthful and learn the ability to fly by any means, but no, I just they provide a certain amount of wisdom, and you can just call upon them when you have tough questions that you need to help answer for people. So that's mostly what I use the tether for. So
awesome. Bonnie, who do you work with specifically?
Well, of course, my guys always have them around and near, but Santa Muerte, basically death is something inevitable, right? And I guess, with being the mediumship side of things, it's almost natural. I know, like with her, I always tease. I've worked with other things before, but she's my bougie. She's a little bougie. She like her altar is quite elaborate.
Wow.
And then you have other ones over here. This is 3 different ones here together. And so but hers is very bougie. I mean, she likes nice things, and but it's honestly, I love the protection that you feel. I guess it's almost learning to accept that the end all is death, right? And once we have fear like that out of us, we can do so many things. Once we accept that, that's part of our fate. We no longer have that hindering us. And I think that fear of those things in the back of our head is always going to kind of hold us back, But if you learn to accept it and work with her or work with it, it can work for you in so many positive ways, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
she's
it sounds
a
very
protector.
freeing.
Yeah. And then I
that
work with,
sounds amazing.
and I work with Belial and a couple of other entities here and there. But lately it's been, I wish, like I said, she's bougie. So it's like most of the attention goes over here. You know, we feed her like, you know, like her altar is one that a lot of people will, you actually, you know, fresh water every day. It's just you taking that time to take care of her. She'll bless you
Yeah,
too for it. And it's so
practice.
simple. It's just like motherly nature and, you know, nurturing something.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good practice to have. I feel like every time I read the Hermetic way of things, they have practices like that, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yep.
every day.
Yes,
It is
no, it's a beautiful, and
dedication.
I've noticed a lot of pull towards mysticism. You know, with her, I keep seeing things come back to that with her, and so I'm like, okay, there's an odd connection, but you just kind of take it, you know, slowly as you go, and I try not to like, because it can get easy to let your mind get warped up and create your own. Hold on, sorry, and your mind create its own. I always tease its own weird conspiracy theory because, you know, sometimes you get downloaded so much you're like, okay, before they come with the white suits, I better stop, you know, because it does. It's like it'll hit you so much. You're like, okay, I know I'm like, am I crazy? Yeah.
How would you tell someone how they can possibly work with deities?
Time, devotion, basically would just be it. Like with Santa Muerte, you know, you can find there are some really good people that work with them out there. I know I think it's called Wicked Witch of LA or something like that. She's devotee of Santa Muerte, and it's literally feeding her, giving her food, giving her water. You know, if you smoke, you can smoke with her. She loves that. Okay. Just breathing life into her. I mean, it's like she is. I've understood death in a whole different way since working with her. It's just natural. It's nothing to just be terrified of because it's happening to all of us. Everybody will. From the minute we're born, we're not getting closer to death. And once you see that, you realize all the things that it unties you from, like boundaries and things holding you back. But just devotion and time with a lot of these entities is something. I don't always say blood is like, some people want to go ahead and say blood can help with some, but it's usually not just to work with one, not always intended, you know, always needed. I mean, I guess if you want to, for me, if it's a ritual or something that I know that I feel like that's going to help it, but always beware what you're putting your blood, you know, for what kind of ritual it is, because that is very important to ask yourself why that ritual needs blood per se. You know, because you just got to watch out. You know, always go with your intuition too. People, we forget that. We forget to trust our own intuition. If it doesn't feel right, I would say trust that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's
I think we all have that problem though.
Trusting yourself. It's you know, following down this path and learning how to, you know, enhance your power and use it for whatever it is that you want to use it for. The first step is learning how to listen to those little voices in your head, the little voices that say, look this way, or the little voices that say, don't touch that, or, you know, like there's all these little hints that you're given, and for the most part we just ignore them, and then, you know, bad things definitely follow. So I think it's about knowing your deities too. Some, you know, require different things. In the case of, like, I work with a lot of nature and stuff like that. So like the Fae, it's about, you know, again, bringing them flowers and, you know, things like that, right? But it's just about knowing what their little piece of something is that intrigues them, right? Leaving crystals for
That's
them.
funny.
Right?
I had to leave out a bowl of honey for because I was catching so much movement in my house. I'm like, okay. Well, I had never seen, and I always tease, and I was calling them like shadow, like they look like like shadow birds, but in my house, like look like a
Yes.
bird flying across the ceiling, and I'm like asking my boyfriend, did you see that? He's,
And
you know,
that's,
I'm like,
that's so funny because most people perceive like fae as being like bright, pixies and little fancy stuff.
no, these
Look
things
like
were kind of terrifying at
they're
first.
absolutely freaky. And when you normally see one, it's exactly what you're saying. It's the shadow bird. It's that something just
It's a
flew
shadow
past the
bird,
corner of your eye, and you're like, where did it go?
yeah, and but there were times that it was like they didn't care if we saw them or not. Just go, I'm like,
Oh my
oh man,
God.
y'all just. And if I grab my phone, now I'm gonna look like a crazy person. But I put out honey, and it's been ever since. But I'm like, well,
Yeah.
why? Okay, first of all, where did I get? Like, I must have stepped in something. And literally brought them home. But
Wow.
I'm going, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were
You
here to
probably
feed.
just walked by the right forest and they liked your energy. They definitely
Right.
gravitate towards when they can see the light in
Yes.
someone. They go, and they follow
Yes,
you
well,
home.
and we both started laughing because they were like really wanting to make sure that they were known. And we kept, and my boyfriend was like, kind of like, I feel like that might be Faye, but we weren't sure. But then, I even had a friend confirm it. I'm like, okay, we're right. It's like these little shits are just like kind of like trying to, because we kept noticing we would have. Did you just? My dog just threw up on me. I swear.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, I'm going to use that interruption for on that note.
Literally just puked in my lap.
On that note, shout
Yeah,
out to Alicia, Jenny, and Helsveen. I hope I'm saying that right. Oh my God. Alicia, Jenny, and Helsveen. Hello. Thanks for joining us. Shout out to Daughters of Lilith. Ooh, nice.
That's a good name.
Yeah, right? That's awesome. Gosh. Poor Bonnie has to clean up dog throw up. That's just so random.
It was so gentle too. It's just like,
Yeah.
my dog just threw up in my lap. I was like, well,
Interesting.
yeah. If it was my cat, you would have heard a lot more commotion out of it.
Oh, right? Yeah, like a hairball or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of cat do you have?
I have 3, and they're all Himalayan ragdolls. So
Oh, I don't even know.
Fluffy
I'm gonna have
is
to look
all
that up.
sin.
Nice. Oh, she's
well,
back.
that was just weird. I just put on a new pants, but I'm going, that was the weirdest. Ew.
Yeah,
He just
I
came.
was
It was
saying,
spit up.
Gross.
Random.
Yeah, it was such
Random.
grace
We
too.
tease.
You wouldn't even have known it.
Well, and he does it. I don't know. He's just a strange dude. He just goes, bleh.
Oh. Yeah.
And looked at me like, what did you do? What did you, I did something to him too. It was funny.
What, did my bile offend you, mother?
Yeah. But you're supposed to love it. Yeah, no,
yeah,
he's a mess.
love all parts of me.
So when you guys practice, Cami, did you say, do you do spells and stuff like that? Or are you more so just channeling nature and kind of helping people out hill and stuff like that?
I do spells. I do a lot of candle work. I'm also studying in herbalism and things like that. I'd like to eventually learn how to make all the little antidotes and things like that, out of nature. But I do a lot of channeling, tarot work, crystal healing, and that kind of stuff. So I mostly do it for the benefit of others. I have people that come to me regularly. We do their reading, we cut emotional bonds. I have a special little athame for that. And yeah, we just work a lot with the light of the full moon. I definitely rotate around the moon. And yeah.
We just had one in Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had a spell backfire?
Backfire. Oh.
Or go wrong. Go array.
Go so okay. So I had one, and it was a ritual I did on myself. And I basically worked with runes, and then I poured myself a bath with all this different, herbs and things in it. And when I do a bath, I do it with moon water, and I basically, say my aspirations and what it is that I'm hoping to achieve to the moon water. I pour it in with the crystals and I get in the bath. And so what I had gone for as an intent was cleansing myself of impurities and such. And I was like, this is good. Like, I was in a very negative part in my life. I wanted to clear out negative energy. And I think the word that I really mucked up was impurities, because for the next 2.5 weeks, I had to struggle to keep every single one of my piercings because they all tried to remove themselves from my body.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Okay. No, that's
So,
interesting. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
belly button in particular, which I hadn't fought for, and my lip actually tried to like eject itself. My tongue, not so much. I didn't have to fight with that one, but the rest of them were literally trying to force themselves out.
Wow.
And I was like,
And anybody
okay,
that's gone through that is some painful stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, they'll
my
get
belly
straight
button was
fever and they'll.
trying to like work itself out, like up through. Like, it's not like they were trying to pull through the hole. They were trying to, like, this one was migrating up my lip.
Oh.
And I actually had to, like, tape it in place for a while and just kind of leave it. Like, it was definitely really bizarre. I was like, okay, so maybe be a little bit more specific about what kind of impurities we're trying to remove from our body.
Right.
Absolutely.
You have to be
Better
very
metal for your
precise.
piercings. Yeah, so... Yeah, I then replaced them with silver after that, and it was fine. But you know, it was a learning process for sure.
Wording is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
Wording
use
is so
broad
important.
terms. The more you can narrow down, especially like with affirmations and things like that, like the more you can narrow down your field of what you are looking for. Like the entities and the deities that you're working with, they're not mind readers. Like, be very specific. That would be my word to the wise. Like, don't send out a puffy cloud of what it is you might be looking for. Be very specific, right down to the color of the car. Like, just go for it.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like you can't include any negative terms. Like, you can't say, I do not want this or whatever, right? Is it like that?
Well, it's
Negativity or
yeah, I don't know. I think you can use negative terms, but it's mostly for what I use it for anyways. It's mostly about self-growth and healing and stuff like that. So it's, you vanquish things for sure. But
yeah. Bonnie, have you ever had a spell go wrong?
I wouldn't say go wrong. It's kind of the same thing. The wording that I used, and I wouldn't say it went wrong at all. It was just like when you ask for masks to be revealed or people to, skin to be shed so that you can see who your enemies truly are, like cross barrier, be prepared, because sometimes, are you sure you want to know who your true enemies are? Because they can be friends, family, people that say they give a shit and they don't. So, I mean, those that I wouldn't say it went wrong, because honestly, it's best. Everything feels so much better now because I realized there was a weight, because things felt off, but I wasn't realizing where it was coming from. So it didn't really do anything bad for me, but it was just very disappointing to find those things out sometimes. And I think that's just, as humans, that kind of hurts. Like, gosh, I wasn't expecting that, but oh well, I still know I did right. And then you know that you're getting people out of your life that don't need to be there anyway. So that's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
More painful, but healing in a way.
Yeah, I think anytime spells go wrong, it's not that they go wrong, it's that I don't think you came to terms with the consequences of what you were actually asking for. So
Absolutely.
All right. So I think both of you are kind of... See, I can't relate because I very rarely see apparitions or stuff around me, but you guys can. I feel like you guys see almost a lot of things. And in doing so, how do you guys relate kind of the difference between, like, is this all in my head? Am I like, because I feel like a lot of times people can play that into hallucinations and mental illness or whatever it is. I'll give an example. I think when I used to see auras, like I think it was last year, I was going to a psychologist and I looked at her and I was like, oh, you're really pink and green today. It's like really vibrant. It's kind of like bugging me. And she's like, oh, that's so funny. I used to work in a institution and the schizophrenic patient said the same thing. And I'm like, is that an aura? Or, you know what I mean? And I think that happens a lot in this community where it's some people that are gifted think they're crazy, or crazy people think they're gifted, and there's some lines there.
I think that personally, because I do work at an institution, I think there are people that are put away for being different for one and being too honest with what they see. Because I couldn't see what this guy was seeing before, but he came up and told me about a coworker. He goes, he's got some bad things on him. But I had already been telling my coworker at that time, I said, dude, you have such negativity around you. It is going to drag you down and ruin your life, which it ended up really pushing him through some bad things. Mm-hmm. But for me to see the same type of darkness surrounding this guy and this other guy that's locked up, it's sad. I'm like, well, I don't know how I feel about seeing it the way he does, because like, look, he's all locked up in here. And he says, I better watch what I say though, because they'll lock me in my room if I talk too much. And my stomach sunk. I was just like,
Yeah,
I mean, of course he could have been bullshitting that too. I hope. This is just an accusation. Allegedly is what he's saying. But the dude has been definitely taught to not talk, evidently, over the years, is what I'm getting. And they're not always crazy. Yeah, there are some absolutely that are. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so scary. It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. There are going to be those that are just liars. And then the minute that they truly see something, nobody's going to want to listen to them. It is hard. It is hard because I feel like, there are people that have said that they have seen things. And it's usually in bad cases, like, what is the movie that just came out, the most recent Conjuring? They killed somebody in the name and sake of a demon or something like that. It's a very fine line. What was that movie called? The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Yeah. If y'all haven't, it one's pretty good. It one's pretty good, actually. But it's things like that. It's just kind of like, I feel like you said earlier, it's just a very fine line, between crazy and not. And I think deep down we all know whether we're crazy or not. And sometimes it feels like I think people are put in our paths to make us feel that way.
Yeah.
So it might have been just somebody trying to use your manipulation to manipulate your mind to where it makes you doubt yourself. And I think that very much can happen.
True. That self-doubt.
So don't doubt it. Just, because you're going to look at it as a psychiatrist. Here's a psychiatrist making me feel like I've never seen multiple personalities with you from anything I've ever noticed. You seem like a genuinely caring person. So that almost sounds kind of hysterical to me. That they would even.
Well, that's how it came off to me too. I didn't necessarily buy it, but I thought it was interesting.
But they felt, well, it's sad that they would think that you would just, okay, nah. I think it's somebody trying to manipulate your mind in a weird way. And of course, leave it to be a psychiatrist. It's so scary.
Yeah, I avoid them at all costs. But
Do you?
I also believe that not all vessels in any case are created equally, and also upbringing has a lot to do with it. There are some people, like Bonnie said, that come from a very strong religious background where that's been the foundation of their structure and their belief, and when they're confronted with these powers, these apparitions, they hit a struggle within themselves. And I do find that can be the case in a lot too. What's perceived as crazy is actually someone who's warring within themselves and it aren't actually taking the time to, tear out all the dirty laundry and, you know, hang it out to dry, right? Like they're warring within themselves, which creates an extra psychosis on top of everything, which is what the general populace perceives as crazy. So
true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Just give them all like a drug to make them shuffle around and they can't think. That's the easiest, I guess.
Right, exactly.
Well, there's some people that don't want to see it again, like we already discussed, right? I do think there are a certain percentile of people that end up in institutions that are probably there willingly too, because they just don't want to acknowledge that the world that they can see exists, right? Like my girlfriend, she has such a high energy about her, and she went to a palm reader once, and basically the palm reader looked at her and went, why are you here? You should be doing what I'm doing. Like, you have great power about you. And my friend was like, nah, like wanted nothing to do with it. She's like, okay, sweetie, well, you got two avenues here. You either step up to the plate and take your power, or you self-medicate. You know, that was straight up what she was told, right? Like, so some people do. They choose to just, by ignoring it, you know, that's their choice, right? So.
Wild. I feel like I'm getting a pep talk right now.
Yeah, we're like, stop ignoring it, Neima.
Anyways, so
we're more interested about you and your aura seeing. Could we like elaborate back?
Pink and green, yes, that's a great.
Yeah. Oh God, I haven't seen those. Like I said, it's been like maybe two years now since I've been seeing them. But also, I'm self-medicated, so that's also it. Example A.
Point. Yeah, exhibit A, Neima.
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys absolutely stay away from? Like, you will not touch it, won't deal with it, don't even have any interest in it, put it on a shelf in the occult? Bonnie's like, I don't think so. There's no limits.
I don't know. I feel like as long as you've done the correct learning and it calls out to you, I mean, there should never be a limit to what you explore, right? So just make sure
you're respectful and
yeah, exactly. Right. Being respectful. Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be a limit.
Necromancy it is. Just kidding.
And next week we're raising the dead. Yay!
I was talking to Melvin about this, and I literally, because he was last time on the ladies' night, we had the Ouija board, and so that was interesting. And I didn't think I have any issues with it. I just like, you know, because it always sounds crazy, scary when people say it.
It's one of the ones that give me the willies for sure. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to using it. I don't personally own one, but that's always one where I'm like, I don't want to know. I'm good.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of them though is necromancy. Like, mediumship is one thing that's just I feel like it's very intense. If it's anything like the movies, I'm just like, oh no, I don't want to see that.
There are some movies there are some movies that get it kind of right. Like I think it is it Insidious?
Which ones? Yeah.
There's things. Huh?
I'm like, oh, tell me.
Insidious, I think it is. Yeah, okay. Insidious actually kind of had some things in it that would remind me. That's the one with the older psychic lady, I think, right? And the way she's going down the hall, and she was like different doorways, you could see different things and stuff like that. And that's honestly when you're trying to pick up or look for a certain energy, you know, you can come upon other things. It's very interesting too. I mean, things even like, and I don't know, this is going to probably be very frightening, and I'm not trying to intend it to be that way, but when you're working with darker things or things that are trying to appear to be more frightening than they are, I mean, like the Hellraiser type vibes of, and it's not just so much, you know, the demon itself, but more like these rooms that you would find yourself in, these very dark, gloomy places and stuff. That one has always been like, this place is so familiar. And it was like weird because you realize it's probably somebody else's experiences and their only way of writing it down, you know, into literature or art in a way. I mean, I feel like, you know, what do they say? Life imitates art. You know, music, all kinds of things in a way will help us open our eyes to different things. And I think that's why sometimes we're drawn to different artists or actors or, you know, directors.
Yeah, directors especially. Yeah, I always get zeroed in on some directors, and then I'll watch everything that they've done. I'm like, oh, okay.
It makes all sense. Yeah, they tell stories.
Yeah. Where are we at now? I'm just like all over the place because we kind of just went off the wall on my notes. Went with the flow, but we're making great time. I love it. So I think to close out, guys, already, wow. Do you guys have any finishing notes on anything you want to tell the listeners? Any advice on practicing magic, working with entities? I think we said like dedication, really just ask, you know, focus on what they want or how you can work with them and be respectful.
And learn to tap into your own intuition. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I think that's the biggest one is learn to trust your intuition. If you want to dabble into these things, don't just I always find it too, it's you reach for a deck of cards that you wouldn't normally reach for. Don't go, oh, that's not the right deck of cards. Acknowledge that you reached for it for a reason. I think so many of us just go, it popped into my head, it means nothing. No, it popped into your head for a reason. When I'm packing up for a session and all of a sudden I have the image of like my obsidian sphere in my mind, it's not there just because I thought, oh, which crystal should I bring? It's there because it wants to come with me, right? So I think my biggest word of advice would be learn to just trust that little voice in your head, and it'll pursue you forward into the path that's in your best interest. So
right. Okay. Right. Well, or like me, like ignoring all the spiders and spider webs around you, and then finally one lands on you, bites you, until you look at it and like, you know, try to remove it.
I had a crazy experience with spiders the other day too. Similar thing.
I think they're protectors out right now. Yeah, big time protectors.
Yeah, exactly. My crazy experience with spiders is I had a bunch of things going on in my life that I had just chosen to kind of ignore for the time being. I hadn't been practicing as diligently as I normally had in the past. And I'm sitting here just trying to shut my brain off and watch some smutty vampire show, you know? I'm like, is that the least I can do? And I'm sitting on my bed and all of a sudden a spider crawls across from the right side of my bed. And I'm just like, oof, no. And I go to grab it and it pushes itself in the crack. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I move over to the other side of my bed. I'm like, it's in the crack. It's fine. I'm going to be on this side. And then I look over to the corner of my other eye. Spiders, you know, either the spider ran under the bed and up the other crack that fast, or I have now two spiders. And I'm like, no, okay, push it down the crack. Now I'm in the center of my bed, you know? And so then one books it across the bed into the blanket. And I'm like, nope, chuck up the blanket, toss it off the bed. I'm still watching the TV show, right? And then I'm like, no blanket, sitting on the bed. And I'm like, all of a sudden one comes up the foot of the bed and runs straight at me. And I'm like, I crumple up the sheet and toss it off the bed. And then just as I do that, one drops down from the ceiling. And I was like, okay, I get it. I'm going to listen. I understand. I should get back to what I should be doing and stop watching my smutty vampire show. Like, okay.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's
funny,
cool.
Similar experience.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like it jumped, it landed on me, hit me, and then I'm like, okay. Like so when I look at what the spider familiars are, and you know why they're here and things like that, and just take it. Yeah. So anything you see like that could be something you need to really look into, especially if it catches your intuition, or just if it gets your intuition going, then look it up. It's not gonna hurt.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. My pep talk.
Yeah, this is basically an intervention.
Yeah, right?
Yes. Just do it. Just do it, Neima.
Melvin tricked me into thinking I was the host, but it was really just
an intervention for you. Yes.
Okay, well, to close out, Bonnie, I would love it if you could pull some cards for us.
For sure. I think I can make it with my phone has like been giving me the signal here, but
I
I
don't know
will do.
what the subject
I have a
matter
good.
is, though.
Let me give. I'm gonna pull some witch. Okay, the Seasons of the Witch
Ooh.
Oracle.
Ooh.
I'm loving
Yeah.
it. It's got they're.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
they're
I
so
don't have
neat.
that
And
one. I have like a bazillion, but I don't have that one.
This one's
We should
gold.
do
I
like
mean
a
red.
paper
foil.
Oh
deck
my
thing.
gosh, that's beautiful. I'm obsessed. I actually want to
Okay.
make my own because I'm an artist. I want to make my own tarots.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That would be really, really cool. Okay. Let's see. What falling notes do we have? Close with.
God, see, I need to learn how to shuffle like that. When I shuffle, it does not look that graceful. I'm like,
And there's
Mine.
a big
I feel like if I
bite my
done
lip, like stick my tongue out, like squint one eye. I'm like, okay, nobody fall on the ground now.
right? That's so funny. Well, that's funny that a while ago we were talking about necromancy. The first card that popped out is graveyard.
Wow.
Nice.
So before
Dun,
my
dun,
phone
dun.
dies on me. Let's see. G. G-R-A. Well, hello. I can't spell evidently. G-R-E.
It's not like they ever make the
Ha!
books easy to navigate.
Graveyard. Here we go. It says, many see a graveyard as a symbol of mortality. It collects the tears of mourners whose loved ones have been laid to rest. Its stillness is an ominous song that creeps up the spine, leaving us to ponder who death will come for next. But a graveyard is a place of serenity to where souls find peace and stillness beyond the harsh realities of living. There is no longer the need to struggle against what is. It's a place to surrender. I swear that's Phantom Muerte talking. There are those who fear the graveyard, for it's long been the home of wandering spirits who could not find peace. Those who have not transitioned to eternity, forced to live a half life, neither dead nor alive. Those who are faced with taking responsibility for life not lived to the fullest on things, or not, I'm sorry, life not lived to the full, focused on things that didn't matter and holding on to resentment. Okay. The graveyard will help you to find peace with where you are. Okay, with where you are. And there are times when we will not be faced with difficult situations that are beyond your control. Kind of letting go of things that are too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I've still got. All right, I was trying to I've got just plenty of time left on my phone right now. Aha. Third harvest is the next one. If I just knew the way. Okay. I love that the alphabet seems all out of sorts when you're trying to look it up the way I am.
I don't even think that some of those books are alphabetical. I love when the cards are numbered. I'm like, thank you, a system
Right.
that works.
Well, the sad thing on this one, they are numbered, but they're not numbered the way they should be.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, there we go. Third harvest. And
Ooh.
I guess it looks like wheat she's holding.
Oh no, gluten.
Yeah, Samhain served as a practical holiday that told our ancestors to prepare for the coming of winter. The third harvest was a time to gather up the remainder of crops to prepare for and store them to have enough food for their harsh conditions. The last of the wheat would be ground to flour. The remains of fruits and vegetables would be pickled and canned and meats. Honestly, I would just say this is kind of telling us to prepare for anything right now. I don't want to be like, I don't want to sound that way, but I'm just going to say what I say. You know what I mean?
Basically, the cards
Well, would they
are
wait?
saying like, embrace your gift and prepare for anything.
Right.
Wow.
It's like, just take and do with your gifts, and yeah, don't just store them away, like, because you need to store them because you're going to need them. Work on them. And we're lucky that we no longer have to face bad conditions in the modern world. Refrigeration, grocery stores make things easy for us to have food all year long. Perhaps that is why the overall idea of preparing is no longer important. Yeah, maybe it is when we prepare for anything that we're going through. It's kind of society has taken kind of some lazy. Even when it comes to our education, like we take some easy scapegoats nowadays I guess that is not always a good thing, because it teaches us how to work for things and to work on things, improving things constantly, because the more that you work on something, even if it's the same ritual, the more you do that ritual, the more perfect you'll have it each time, Sometimes we get so acceptable with just what we feel like is our best that we don't try to even improve, if that makes sense. Okay, and the next one is a cauldron. So this was very neat, very alchemical. Okay, a cauldron is essential for a witch and is often the center of her home. It has many uses, from cooking to working spells, brewing potions, and then making floor washes. The cauldron is the vessel of transformation, turning materials into something useful, healing, and nourishing. The cauldron is a symbol of bringing many things together to create the things you want. Some things have to be broken down before something before something new can be created. It may even take several attempts, like I just said, it may take several attempts before you have the perfect outcome. Do not be afraid to fail, like the other card was saying, or try your spells in different times or in different ways. As you grow in your practice, you will begin to see what works and what doesn't. You will understand these signs that your bubbly pot and can and will be used for. If you are holding the cauldron card, it is because there is one path to the outcome that you seek. Interesting. So for those of you that have been working on something and you feel like this is part of this pet talk, then keep on doing what you're doing. I feel like it's trying to say to those of you that are ready to give up, it's not time to give up yet, that you need to actually buckle down and work harder. So there you go.
Yeah.
So anybody that's dragging your pants around. So yeah, that might be for you, girl.
Yeah, harness your energy, practice, and store all your power for a rainy day.
Right. Yes, it's weird how sometimes the cards will just fall out what we need to hear or what we need. Well,
I always call it the cards calling me out. I do tarot for a lot of other people. I hate doing tarot for myself. I'm like, okay, I know. Like,
I don't normally either do it for myself. Well, because I will pull every card that I feel like I'm going to get. Like, it's going to be Tower, pull them all up, you know what I mean? I'm ready for the worst cards to come out, and every time they will. And it's because I feel like just because I'm making them do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not like it's even a true reading. Like, no, exactly. I feel like my fears come out in the deck. I don't like that. I have to get somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
No, totally fair.
And when I read my own cards, I kind of just I'm like, oh, it's the positive meaning. It can't be the bad one.
Yeah, I feel like we glare.
And I'll do that too. I'll do that one too. Then I wish I hadn't. When I do, it's weird.
Or you have that night where you just keep pulling cards. You're like, okay, well, that one needs further explanation.
Right. That
one wasn't for me. It really
and you knew exactly what it meant. It's like, come on, how more black and white could that card be?
And then the next card is just a bigger slap in the face. Like, if you get me now, you're like, no, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Cami, do you have a spot where people can check you out and see what you're doing?
Not any of my actual practice or anything like that. So I have my modeling, which is definitely
Cosplay,
nothing
right?
to do with anything else. But yeah, I don't have anywhere just yet for people to check me out in that aspect. So.
Okay, I mean, any aspect is good. If you want to, shout it out, or you can. Go ahead. Do you like?
Well, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Kimmy Leanne. I'm like a goddess wear, Wiccan, cosplay model type person. And I'm also a live streamer on Twitch, so play video games as a pastime. So the name works in pretty much any location. So just type it in, you'll find me. It's easy.
All right, thank you. And Bonnie, where can people find you?
Yes, Bonnie, Ribbon Moon Tarot on Facebook is my tarot site. Bonnie Woodruff on, hold on. I think it's Raven Moon. Hold on. I can't even remember. I think it's Raven Moon Tarot also on Instagram now too. And then or Bonnie Woodruff. That's pretty much, it's easy. It's either Bonnie Woodruff. If you can't find me that way, then you find me with Raven Moon Tarot.
Okay, and I think we should have all your links on Twitter and everything if you guys follow Unexplained Possibilities. To close out this Thursday, the 26th at 6 p.m., Melvin will be having a show with two Satanists. And once again, that's Thursday, the 26th at 6 p.m. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for Ladies' Night on Unexplained Possibilities. Night.
Hi.